MMA Fighting presents Timeline: Jon Jones versus Dominick Reyes. August 9th, 2008. UFC 87 Seek and Destroy, Minneapolis, Minnesota. The 6-0 Jon Jones makes his UFC debut on the prelims of UFC 87. Jones wins a unanimous decision over Andre Guzmão. Jones will go on to defeat UFC Hall of Famer Stephan Bonner at UFC 94, the 11-2 Jake O'Brien at UFC 100 by second-round guillotine, Brandon Vera by brutal elbows and punches in round 1 at UFC on Versus 1. This victory was also Jones's first main event. Vladimir Matyushenko by elbows in the first yet again, in a showcase main event in San Diego for UFC on Versus 2. December 4th, 2009, The Ultimate Fighter Finale Season 10. Las Vegas, Nevada. Jon Jones faces Matt Hamill as the co-main event at the Tough 10 finale at the Pearl at the Palms.
And Jon, there's obviously a lot of excitement surrounding this fight. A lot of people are excited to see you fight again. And I'm curious, because the last time we saw you in action, UFC 100, I mean, obviously you looked very good there, but it seems as though your career and your life has changed a lot since then. A lot of notoriety, a lot more publicity. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited about it. You know, I have a goal and I have a dream in the sport, and that's to make it to the very top of the ladder. And I understand that, you know, getting to the top of the ladder, a lot of this stuff is going to come with it. So I accept what it is, and I just try to do my best at it. You know, my main focus is just being a provider for my family, you know, being the best man I can be, being some sort of leader and a role model to, you know, younger athletes who want to do the same things or similar things. And, you know, just do the best to make it to the top of that ladder.
Jones would suffer a very controversial loss at the Tough 10 finale. After completely dominating Hamill, Jon Jones would lose by disqualification for using illegal downward elbows.
I try to look at everything in life for the best, and now I'm not worried about being undefeated anymore, so I can go out there and be more relaxed. I think I hit him so many times, and I just didn't understand why I wasn't getting stopped. Like, is he waiting for me to gas or something? Like, what is this? I looked at him like twice. I was like, why am I still hitting this guy?
February 5th, 2011, UFC 126, Silva versus Belfort, Las Vegas, Nevada. Jon Jones is booked against top-ranked and undefeated Ryan Bader.
Are you surprised that you are a 4-1 favorite, that so many odds makers, are picking you, and that really not a lot of people are actually picking him?
Wow, that's 4-1. That's big. You know, I try not to play into odds. You know, gambling's against my religion, and I just don't gamble too often. I've tried it a few times. I suck at it, a little roulette. But
I'm not trying to call you out on gambling. I'm just saying, are you surprised that you're such a big favorite?
Yeah, I'm glad people believe in me, and you know, hopefully no one loses their money. I'll say that.
In what would be his breakout performance of his career, Jones dispatches Bader via second-round guillotine. The UFC would offer Jones a short-notice title fight immediately after his victory.
There are a lot of moments in UFC history that we'll always remember. I think that was one of them right there when you were offered a title shot. Did you even know that that was at stake?
You know, I knew Rashad had gotten hurt, but I didn't see that coming. You know, it was awesome, and yeah, God is really good.
And this is going to happen on March 19th, right?
Yeah, I got 6 weeks, so I have an after party tonight, but I definitely won't be drinking. It's right back to the drawing board, and I'm just so excited. I'm so grateful for this situation, and I think everything happens for a reason, and I'm not afraid of this moment. I feel as if it's my moment.
I know it's not ideal, but do you think 6 weeks is enough time to prepare for Shogun?
Yeah, I think 6 weeks will be great. I didn't get hurt at all. Actually, my big toe, I might have stubbed it on the way out, but I feel great. I'm already in shape, so right now it could only bring out an even tougher, more vicious, more fit Jon Jones.
Jon Jones now fighting March 19th for the UFC light heavyweight title. How did this whole situation come about?
We literally made this fight down by the octagon. It happened, you know, I found out this afternoon at like 2 o'clock that Rashad was out. And You know, this is what we do, man. It's one of the cool things. It's not like boxing where if a guy falls out, you know, you got to postpone the fight.
Any concerns at 6 weeks, his age, this might be too soon?
Listen, the guy's proved himself over and over and over again. I mean, he's taken everybody out. Every challenge that's been put in front of him, he's finished. Is he still a young guy, 23 years old? And yeah, he is, but you know, he's so talented. He's so talented, and even tonight in such a big fight, he was in there. I'm sure he was nervous and had all those things, but he was so calm and cool, you know, and he did walk through Bader.
March 19th, 2011, UFC 128 Shogun vs. Jones, Newark, New Jersey. As promised, Jones returns to the UFC cage a little over a month after his last victory in the main event against Shogun Rua for the UFC 205-pound championship.
A lot of people were surprised when they found out that you've been signing your name as Champ 2011. How did that come about?
You know, I believe in the law of attraction, and I believe that that you can speak things into existence. And I believe that when you know where you're going and you know what you want, the universe has a way of stepping aside for you. And me signing my signature with Champion 2011 on it, it can't hurt me. It can't hurt me. It could only help me to believe it even more, you know. So yeah, I mean, it works for me.
Question for Jon Jones. Could you please stand up?
Uh-oh.
Do you really think you could win this fight? Have you seen Alistair Overeem? Have you seen him fight the snake?
Hey, what's your name? What's your name?
Anthony.
Anthony, come on, son. Come on, son. Come on, son. Absolutely. I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't think I could beat Shogun. So.
Jones defeats Rua by third-round TKO and becomes the youngest ever UFC champion.
Mr. Hammer, you know, we just saw Jon Jones dismantle Shogun Rua. What do you think of that, what we just saw out there?
I think we saw a transition tonight, you know, a transition of a new generation of fighter. His skill set is unbelievable, and all due respect to Shogun, it was just amazing because everybody knew that Jon had this incredible arsenal of weapons, and his ground game is, you know, also incredible. But still, to see him actually dismantle him the way he did was incredible.
One of my co-managers, his name is Glenn, and he has a family that lives here in the New Jersey area. So before my fights, I like to find a really beautiful site, whether it's the top of a mountain, next to a stream, anything gorgeous, nature-wise. I like to, you know, associate nature with different levels of energy and all this. But anyways, that's a different topic. So we find a place in Paterson, New Jersey, where there's a bridge, and there's this very powerful waterfall, and there's almost like a little mountain. And it was beautiful, but around this waterfall and everything, it was a really ghetto area. And as the guy pulls us up in his car, he's like, you know, I'm in the passenger seat, Greg, Jackson, and Winklejohn's in the back seat. He's like, listen, guys, before I drop you off here, I want to let you know this is a pretty bad neighborhood, so you might want to be careful. And I'm like, dude, we're at, you know, we're all MMA guys. And he's like, well, I'm just letting you know, a lot of people get mugged here. Just as he said that, I turned to pull off my seatbelt, and the guy, I see an old Spanish couple like screaming, and they're like running. They look like they're out of breath big time. And I'm like, dude, they just got mugged. And he's like, no. And I'm like, maybe not, I'm tripping. And you just put that in my mind. So Mike Winklejohn hops out of the car, and he's like, you guys okay? And then she's like, you know, the guy he just broke my window open, and he took all my stuff, and he's running. And so I'm like, what? So Mike Winklejohn, without hesitation, he just starts running, right? And I'm like, holy crap. And then Greg Jackson, he just starts running, and they both start running. So I'm like, what is happening right now? So next thing you know, I have like sweatpants on, I have an iPod and my Droid X, my wallet. I'm like, what is, like, where am I? What's going on? So I'm like, okay, it's time for me to take action. So I take my hands in my pockets, I throw my stuff on the floor, and I tell our driver, I'm like, dude, take care of my stuff. And I throw it on the floor, and I just start running, right? And you know, I got these gazelle legs, so I'm running, right? And I'm running, and next thing you know, I catch up to my coaches, and I'm jogging, and there's a sprint, right? I'm like, so what are we doing? We gonna catch this guy? And he's like, John, you get back. He's like trying to swim move me, like get over me. He's like, get back. You don't need to be involved with this, right? And I'm like, nah, Coach, God, trust me, man. I'll be okay. I'll be okay. So then I put the jets on. You know, I went TO on him. So I put the jets on, and I catch up to the guy. I'm like, how you doing? You think you're gonna? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. So, anyways, the guy, like, I'm like closing in on this guy about 20 yards away, and the guy's like, you can see that he's starting to get winded. So he's like, you know, he got this stuff and he's running, and he looks back and he usually sees me, you know, 6'4". You got Greg and Wink like behind us. Yeah, Greg and Wink's behind me, and I'm just running like, yo, you know, I'm gonna catch you, right? So the guy looks back, and then he trips over his own foot. And so at the time he tripped over his own foot, I got so scared because I didn't know what I was gonna do when I actually caught him. So I actually like started barking like, I'm gonna get you, like, you know. So the guy's like, he looks back like, oh crap, but he's trying to stand up. And when he was standing up, I approached him when he's like in a, you know, in your March Cassette Go type of stance, because he's like trying to get his momentum back. And one of his behind feet, I just came up with my foot and like scooped it out from under him with my foot, like just kicked him from the back, like kind of kicked his ankle out. And he fell down, and when he fell, he like, you know, scraped his hands up pretty good. And so he's down on the floor, and you know, I'm thinking like, I hope I don't get stabbed right now. So I'm just like looking at him like, should I ground and pound him? And Greg Jackson just comes out of nowhere and jumps on the guy's back, and he starts speaking Spanish, like, you know, and like, I'm like, you know Spanish? All right, so I'm like, let me do something, right? So I grabbed the guy's feet, and then I put him in this move, because I went to college for criminal justice, and I had a class defensive tactics. So I grabbed him, and I like figure four'd his legs, and I sat on his legs, and he's screaming at us, and Greg's like, you know, speaking Spanish. So as I'm sitting on this guy's leg, catching my breath a little bit, because we're sprinting uphill, I realized that I'm in like this Spanish neighborhood, and like all these people are coming out their houses yelling Spanish across the street. I'm like, oh Lord, here we go. Like, what is happening? Like, Greg's yelling like in Spanish to people, and then a guy walked up to us, and he's like, yo man, that could have been my mama's car. And once he said that, I was like, yes, they're on our side. Like, I'm like, yeah, you punk, that could have been his mama's car. And then we went, and we all felt like superheroes. We just had the best meditation session ever, and I just felt really good after that. I was like, I gotta win this fight. I got the hard work, dedication, and now I got karma on my side. So it was crazy. It was good.
September 24th, 2011. UFC 135, Jones vs. Rampage, Denver, Colorado. Jon Jones returns for his first title defense against former UFC champion Rampage Jackson.
How sick are you of just being around Rampage? They're sort of forcing you guys to be on this traveling circus here.
You know what? I'm actually liking it. I'm liking it a lot. You know, Rampage's personality is a very unique personality, and if you're not familiar with it, it can almost come across as it can take people back, a lot of people back. You know, Rampage has that, you know, in your face, you know, oh, I'm gonna knock you out, kid, and all this, and Mr. T talk. And the more I'm around it, the more I've humanized him, the more I've realized that he's just some heavy-handed Mr. T wannabe, you know, I'm getting ready to fight, instead of this intimidating, I'm Rampage Jackson, and I'll knock your head off type of thing, you know. So now I'm like, all right, like, enough fun and games, let's see who's a better fighter, you know. So it's actually helped me humanize him a lot, being around it.
He and others have fueled this sort of this notion that you are cocky and trying to get fans to go against you because you've accomplished so much at such a young age?
Honestly, I think that's what it is. Literally, it could be anything. It could have been any other word, and that would have tagged and kind of stuck. But they chose the word cocky. And the reason why they're calling me cocky, I think, is because of my age. You know, I'm a guy who's confident in myself, and I feel good about myself. I've accomplished a lot at it so far, and it's just really getting started. And it's sad, but it's two African-American men that's calling me cocky. So maybe they're hating on me for being the new fresh black face on the map. I don't know.
Jones wins by submitting Jackson in round 4.
Basically, our strategy was to just fight long and to make each shot count. You know, use a lot of the low kicks to set up higher kicks and you know, shoot straight. You know, Rampage just knocked out some of the best in the sport. But he tends to knock them out when they're swinging hooks, and he has that that shell defense. So we figured if we shot straight, our chances of landing things would be more successful. So that's why I did a lot of up kicks and a lot of straight punches, because he does the best when he's rolling off of hooks.
So what about Jon Jones impresses you?
He has a lot of weapons, a lot of technique. He's quick. He's very athletic. He has tremendous potential. And, but I'll tell you something, Rampage had the best head movement he's ever had and really impressed me tonight. If he would have let his hands go tonight, it would have been something. For some reason, he didn't.
Now, what about the Jon Jones in terms of his legacy? Do you think that he could actually be one of the best fighters of all time? Because right now, no one has ever even come close to really putting a chink in his eye.
Say that. I'm not going to say that about anybody. I don't know, anybody here that I'm going to say, is going to be one of the best fighters of all time, because of all time is a long time. He's a great young man with tremendous potential. Are there people out there who could beat him? Maybe. I
noticed him actually go for the front kick to the face there. Did you see that as well?
Yeah, him and I did talk about that, but he hasn't, he hasn't learned it yet.
When did you speak to him?
Taught it yesterday, day before yesterday.
Wow. So you actually have a relationship with Jon Jones?
Well, he's a kind of a friend.
Right.
Yeah.
December 10th, 2011, UFC 140, Jones versus Machida, Toronto, Ontario. Jones is set to defend his title for the second time against former UFC champion Vitor Machida.
Thank you, guys.
My little baby bro.
Oh, thank you.
Kids.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jon Jones defeats Machida by second round guillotine.
Is that the toughest fight of your career?
I think it's safe to say it's the toughest fight since I've learned how to fight. My UFC debut was pretty tough, only because I was actually engaged in a really tough fight, and I didn't really have tactics or have philosophy. Now I have tactics, I have philosophy. I feel as if I'm a seasoned fighter. I know what I'm doing, and I still went through a pretty strong fight. So I think it's safe to say that it's the toughest fight since I've known how to fight.
How'd you set up that choke? That was one of the more impressive moments of your career.
All right, I'll show you. So what you do is you grab it here, and you okay?
I'm great.
Right.
That felt great.
Cool.
And then you just walked away like ain't no thing. Like it felt like you had a little swag in your step when you walked away there. Just let him fall to the ground.
Hey, it was a good fight, and I'm just grateful that I won it.
Would you say this is the greatest run, 365 days, calendar year in UFC history?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Do you feel as though Jones gets the respect that he deserves? And I know he gets a lot of hype, but considering who he beat in his last three fights, and considering the fact that he finished them too, how can you not say that he's the best fighter in the world right now?
Yeah, well, the thing is, again, to call him the best fighter in the world, if you look at Anderson Silva's run since 2006, you know what I mean? Jon Jones is still young. He's had an incredible year, probably one of the greatest years in UFC history. He is on his way.
April 21st, 2012, UFC 145, Jones versus Evans, Atlanta, Georgia. The light heavyweight champion is set to face former training partner and former UFC champion, Rashad Evans.
The reason I say that I felt as if Rashad's fighting out of anger is, it's not that he's going to be in the cage looking like this at me, like giving me a rampage. He's what I meant by that is that he's focused so much on the storyline, and telling his story about Greg and Wink and how I'm so cocky and things like that. Where me, I kind of feel like I'm being more reactive instead of really trying to attack his personality, because I really don't care about defending my personality. I have a very strong fan base, and I have a very strong hate base, and it is what it is. So I realize that I'm here to complete a mission, and that's to have my hand raised. And that's why I said he's kind of fighting out of anger, because all that pre-fight drama stuff is just shouldn't take too much of your emotion, too much of your effort. I've been focusing on tactics since I signed that contract, tactics and strategy.
Jon Jones cruises to a dominant decision.
I think I was a little intimidated at some points to just believe in my ability and speed and coordination. I think as a result, I didn't fight as clean as I would like to have. But it was a great fight, and I respect Rashad a lot and thank him for taking this fight.
What did you learn about yourself tonight?
I learned that I need to just trust my stuff a little bit more and not be intimidated, by people, what they have, and just to trust what I have. Like I said before, I definitely move very fluently when I'm going against a heavy bag or a coach with mitts. And tonight, I kind of felt gangly and uncoordinated at some points. And I know that came from slight insecurity in my attacks.
September 22nd, 2012, UFC 152, Jones versus Belfort, Toronto, Ontario. Originally scheduled as Jon Jones versus Dan Henderson at UFC 151, 3 weeks prior, Henderson pulls out with an injury less than 2 weeks before the fight. Jon Jones declines to face Chael Sonnen as a late-notice replacement. Soon afterwards, the UFC cancels the entire card. Jones is rebooked against yet another former UFC champion, Vitor Belfort.
Jones, what's the relationship right now between you and Dana? Because we've heard so many different things going on. You guys love each other, you hate each other.
Hate him. I hate him. I hate everything about him. No, I'm joking. Dana White's awesome, man. Like I've said before, Dana White is a very passionate guy. He takes the passion, his passion, and he goes to like big meetings, and he's talking to a lot of people about getting MMA, legalized and having people endorse MMA. And he has this passion, and his passion is honestly the reason why we're all here right now. So when he's upset with you, he's going to be passionate. So, I forgive Dana White for any insults he might have given me, and I'm looking forward to talking to him and just moving forward. It's like I've said before, me and Dana White are both ambassadors of this great sport, and two of us not being on the same page really makes no sense for anyone. I really want to get this sport as far as possible and get the word out, and I think working along with Dana in the UFC is a great way to do that. So I'm looking forward to just moving forward, putting on this great fight, UFC 152, and putting this past us. Ultimately, why wasn't there a good enough, a great card? What was wrong with that card? Why did it have to get canceled? I watch bar fights. I love fights, no matter what level it is. So I think it was more of an insult to the other fighters on the card that, pretty much, it was almost like saying they weren't good enough to host the card without me and Dan Henderson. And I think it was more of an offensive thing. They should be mad at the superiors, not mad at me. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think at the end of the day, I probably would have done what was best for my career. And I can't really carry the weight of what happened because it really wasn't my thing. I showed up to fight. My teammates was on that card. I would have loved to have been able to watch them fight. But I think some real questions need to be asked to Dana about why the fight got canceled.
And how do you think the fans here in Toronto will react to you? Because obviously you've become sort of this polarizing figure, but if it wasn't for your decision, they wouldn't have a chance to see a UFC light heavyweight title fight. So do you think they will actually greet you with cheers as opposed to boos here in Toronto?
I'm hoping that people are grateful for me being here and being able to entertain them ultimately. But I'm predicting that I'll probably get booed more than cheered. But I'm okay with it. I've come to terms with it, and I'll still compete at my best.
I'm here with the champion, ladies and gentlemen. You've maintained a great sense of humor through all this. Jon, this is a real experienced opponent you're taking on, a guy who's been around the game for a long time. Give us your thoughts on Vitor and what tomorrow night means to you.
Well, I honestly believe that Vitor's one of the best in the world. It's as good as it gets. And I'm excited to go out there and do my best, do what I always do.
I'm excited to watch you, sir. Good luck to you. The champion, ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Bones Jones!
Jones defeats Belfort by key lock in round 4.
I would rate the performance. I think it was a good performance, but there's definitely a lot of room to improve You know, Vitor had me second guessing myself. I just got to get more comfortable in the octagon. You know, I worked so hard on my stand-up and so hard on my wrestling and things. I definitely need to embrace jiu-jitsu more and be a person who practices what I preach. And I definitely preach being a mixed martial artist and, you know, being passionate about all martial arts. But I can admit that, you know, jiu-jitsu isn't something that I do every day. So I thought my top game looked really poor. I think the ground and pound was pretty good. That's something that Greg Jackson really prides himself on, is having good ground and pound. Striking was fair. And as far as getting fans behind me again, I think I have a lot of fans behind me. Obviously, there's going to be people who support you, and there's going to be people who want to see you fall, and that just goes with being in the position that I am in. But the biggest thing is just to focus on the people who is pulling for you, rooting for you, and want to see you make it, and just focus on them.
With a performance like that, considering how resilient he was, he didn't tap, obviously, and he fought out of it, does that sort of win the fans back? Do you think that all is forgotten now?
I sure hope so. You know, Jon is a really good guy. He's such a tough warrior. And to see, you know, he was in trouble. And, you know, he showed a lot of heart and a lot of guts. And some other people might not have done that. And I hope he inspired a lot of people tonight.
He came out to Bob Marley's Could You Be Loved. What message was being sent there?
I think he was asking if he could be loved.
April 27th, 2013. UFC 159, Jones vs. Sonnen, Newark, New Jersey. Despite coming from a title loss as a challenger at middleweight, the UFC books Chael Sonnen as Jon Jones' next opponent.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Did I turn on a shake? Did I turn on you? Sorry, dick.
He's changed a little bit as far as his public persona.
He's changed a lot. Jon Jones has changed a lot. And what you have to understand is that, you know, he came into this business as a kid. I mean, he's a young kid, and all the fame and all the pressure and all the stuff. I think he's really starting to catch his stride now. And I mean, look at the shape he's in for this fight. Yeah, I couldn't be happier with Jon Jones.
Does he have any shot in hell against you? Do you give him even a 0.01% chance?
Chael is a great fighter, man. He's a great fighter. You know, people are just disregarding him completely, and I'm not. My camp is not. You know, we've seen what he did to Anderson. We see what he did to Brian Stan. I saw what he did to Nate Marquardt. You know, he's legit. He's legit. You know, he doesn't always come out on top, but he always brings a fight. You know, and I've never fought a guy who's southpaw, who actually shoots from the southpaw stance and things like that. So style makes matchups, and I'm taking this very seriously. I believe that this could be the fight of my life, to be honest with you, or I could just dominate him and eat him alive. One of those are true, and we'll find out which one is going to be true. I'm ready for both of them.
Jones successfully defeats Sonnen by finishing him by TKO late in the first round. September 21st, 2013, UFC 165, Jones vs. Gustafsson, Toronto, Ontario. Jones meets the Swedish fighter Alexander Gustafsson.
In a fight, you know, anything can happen. So my job is to respect him wholeheartedly, train, give it my all. But with that being said, you know, because I respect him wholeheartedly and because I study so much, I see exactly where he truly is. And I know where I am, I know what I've done, and I believe in my training. So I would just say I have a really honest assessment of what I've accomplished and what he's accomplished, the way he's performed, the way I performed, and I speak about it honestly. And every fighter has a chance to win a fight, but my job is to make sure he has very, very small chances, and I think I've done that. Personality-wise, I think he seems like a great kid, a great young man. As a fighter, I believe that I'm better than him in literally every way.
We are still buzzing here in Toronto because we just witnessed an instant classic between the reigning and defending UFC light heavyweight champion Jon Jones and Alexander Gustafsson. Who'd you have it for?
Well, I scored a 3-2 for Jones. I had 2-4-5 for Jones and 1-3 for Gustafsson. I think a lot of people I talked to had something similar to that, but obviously it was a very close fight, so a lot of people were kind of going back and forth. I did hear a couple people who had it for Gustafsson. So, I mean, we talked before this fight happened. We said, who's going to be this guy's rival? He doesn't have a rival. Who's going to be his Joe Frazier, that sort of thing for Muhammad Ali. I don't know if this is the guy, but that was the event that needed to happen for Jones to sort of establish that was somebody. Now, when they roll it back and they have a rematch, which it seems like that would be, depending on how things go, the way that the UFC would look at going for it. We might have the seedlings for something like that, which is kind of a cool thing because in Jon Jones' era, so far we haven't seen that.
Jones would go on to defend his title once again at UFC 172 over Glover Teixeira. January 3rd, 2015, UFC 182, Jones vs. Cormier. Jon Jones is finally set to face his rival, the undefeated Daniel Cormier.
This is the Ali Frazier. I've never had more people interested in a fight in my entire career. Just the most random people, old ladies, and just, almost everybody I run into. I feel like this fight has definitely elevated me and Daniel's exposure level. And so, as far as just publicity-wise, this is the Ali Frazier, supposedly.
You don't feel that way deep down? Like, you don't feel the tension there? The world is watching?
The world is definitely watching, but I don't feel too much tension. I've been in these situations so many times before, and I don't think people are really grasping that. I think to the fans and to media and to everybody else, this is just so crazy. The only thing that's been crazy about this fight to me is what happened at the press conference and the amount of exposure this fight's got. I've thought, it's a little wild. But to me and my camp, this is what we do, man. This is what we do. Do I have nerves? I have nerves going into this fight. But I have nerves going into every fight.
Okay.
But, you gotta really try to put yourself in my mind for a minute and think about what I've been against. This is not the first guy that's supposed to be a monster. And every time I go out there and I do my job. And so just through proving myself over and over again, my confidence and my self-belief is on an all-time high.
Why are people so obsessed with the real Jon Jones and your image and what you say and they scrutinize? Why do you think that is?
I think it's because no one really knows me. No one really knows me, and you can't really criticize or scrutinize my technique because I do things right inside the octagon. So I think it just gives people something to talk about. I think it's it's something for the trolls, it's something for the fans to engage in, it's something for the MMA community to have something to blog about and stuff like that. Not to say that that I'm the center of everything, but for the people who like to talk about me, it's just, I look at it as, it's just something to have people talking. Well, you can't say that I gas out in my fights. You can't say that I do steroids or there's nothing to talk about when it comes to me as a fighter. I do things right.
Jon Jones wins by decision.
My plan is to become the greatest fighter of all time, and it's so feasible, it's so attainable. All I got to do is just stay focused and keep believing just the way I believe, and to keep working. And I do believe 2015 will be the year I solidify it. And as far as beating him in somewhat of his own style, I watched him fight so much that I actually absorb who he is. I absorb grinding. I absorb, I watched him hold my boy Frank Mir against the cage, and I was just like, I see what you're doing there. And just watching my opponents so much, I start to subconsciously inherit their talent and their gifts. And so a lot of times you see me do exactly what they would want to do to me, I'd end up doing it to them. I am proud to say that this team is unbroken. So everyone who brought Breaking Bones shirts, you saw what happened. Feel free to buy yourself an unbroken shirt from Reebok.
April 28, 2015. Jon Jones stripped of title. The UFC strips Jon Jones of his light heavyweight title in the wake of his arrest on felony hit-and-run charges. Jones was set to face Anthony Johnson at UFC 187. Jones was arrested earlier that week in Albuquerque on a felony charge of leaving the scene of an accident involving death or personal injury.
And, I see like the light turn green, and I assumed that it was my green light, but really it was a green light for, people that were going straight in traffic, and I was actually turning. So I just stepped on the gas when I saw the green light, and I find myself driving right into oncoming traffic. And yeah.
Did you get hurt?
I didn't get hurt. No.
So it was a 3-car accident, right?
Yeah, I think I hit one car, and then that car collided into another car.
Do you remember what was going through your mind when you got into the accident? Like, were you aware, like, what have I done? Like, what were you saying to yourself? What were you thinking?
It all happened so fast.
Yeah.
I initially knew I messed up big time. I started thinking about, first I realized I wasn't hurt.
Yeah.
So, I think subconsciously I just figured, all right, nobody's gotten hurt. I'm not hurt. Maybe we didn't hit that hard. I just thought to myself, man, I went out last night. I haven't been home yet. I probably still smell like the night before. I need to get myself out of here. This is gonna be terrible. This is gonna be messy. I gotta go. I was afraid, man. I freaked out. And I was afraid to talk to the police at the time. So I just thought, let me get myself away from this.
April 23, 2016, UFC 197, Jones versus St. Preux, Las Vegas, Nevada. Jon Jones makes his UFC return to face late-notice contender Ovince St. Preux for the interim UFC Light Heavyweight Championship. Jones cruises to a decision victory and becomes interim UFC champion.
I gave Daniel the finger leaving the octagon. It felt great to do. It creates buzz. It gets people ready for the fight. It's like, okay, me and DC don't like each other. He's been in my sights this whole time. We had a minor bump in the road. We had to take a little detour, and now it's back to this beef with DC. So there was not too many emotions involved with me doing it. It was more for fun. It was more to get a reaction from the fans and restart this storyline between me and DC.
July 9th, 2016, UFC 200, Tate versus Nunes, Las Vegas, Nevada. Originally scheduled Cormier versus Jones as the main event for UFC 200, Jones would be pulled off the card due to a positive PED test announcement just days before the fight. Jon Jones would subsequently be stripped of his interim title.
Mark, it was a surreal sight in many ways, especially when you consider the kind of mood Jon Jones was in less than 24 hours ago. In the best mood possible, just 72 hours away from his fight. Now here we are, a complete 180. He's crying in front of the media. Didn't say too much as far as what the substance was, what's the next step for him. But I'm curious, just right off the bat, what was your biggest takeaway from what we saw here moments ago?
It's just kind of sad. The whole thing is kind of sad, and like you said, it's amazing how quickly things can turn in this sport where less than 24 hours ago, Jon Jones was on another dais in another part of MGM Grand talking trash to Daniel Cormier, talking about a fight that's going to probably make him a lot of money. Now that fight is off. Now he's possibly facing a 2-year ban from the sport, just like that, in less than 24 hours. It's unbelievable.
Jon, I'm just wondering, have you had a chance to communicate with DC at all? And if you haven't, what's your message to him? What would you say to him?
I haven't had the opportunity to talk to him. And I just wanted to tell him that I'm sorry. That's really it. I know this fight meant a lot to him.
June 25th, 2017, UFC Fight Night 112, Chiesa versus Lee, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. The 6-0 Dominick Reyes makes his UFC debut against Joachim Christensen. Reyes wins by knockout less than 30 seconds into the first round. The knockout earns Reyes a $50,000 Performance of the Night bonus. July 29, 2017, UFC 214, Cormier vs. Jones 2, Anaheim, California. Jon Jones returns to action after a year's suspension to once again face Daniel Cormier for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship.
How long do you think I've been doing steroids?
Well, you're probably you've earned a title fight, so I imagine you're about 3-0 in the UFC, so those first few fights. Ovent St. Preux, Gusmao, and Forrest Bonner, or whatever his name is. What's that guy's name that he beat? Stephan Bonner. Stephan Bonner. Those 3 fights is when you didn't do steroids, but everything else in the middle is eliminated.
When I started powerlifting 4 days a week, and I started, with these chicken-ass legs with my bad genetics, I started deadlifting 600 pounds, squatting 500 pounds. USADA was in full effect. So how did I get away with that?
You did. I'm not saying you did it last year versus Ovent St. Preux. You were clean last year when you fought Ovent St. Preux.
When I was the biggest ever.
That's why you look like you look.
How do I look?
You're a bum. That's why you look like a bum last time.
How do I look, DC?
Hey, that's all just. Hey, listen, that's all just for show. That's all just for show. I don't care about that.
Who looks like a junkie here today?
That's just all for show. You can show your 6-pack.
Who looks like a junkie?
You can just show your 6-pack. That's fine. That's all for show.
Who looks like a junkie here today?
I look like a.
I'm not a crackhead with a suit on.
What's that?
You look like a crackhead with a suit on.
I could look like a crackhead with a suit on, but I've never been a crackhead like you, though. So you can say I look like one, but I've never been one. I've never been one.
Next question.
And in the main event, we saw the return of Jon Jones. He is now once again the light heavyweight champion of the UFC. He finished Daniel Cormier in the 3rd round. It all started with a left head kick and then eventually some ground and pound. A knockout for Jon Jones 6.5 years after he became the youngest champion in UFC history. Once again, now he is the reigning champion in the 205-pound division.
Yeah, I felt like this was one of those fights that the world had to see. It was the biggest fight of the year, and I even heard rumors that Donald Trump was going to show up. Did any of you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, to be a part of that, it's inspirational. It lets me know that my story is one that the world could look at and get something from. It lets me know that all the faith and all the hard work and consistency and pushing through, it's something that intrigues the world. I mean, there's never been a champion like me, a young champion. Well, there has been, actually. I would say my career is kind of comparable to Mike Tyson, a guy who had it all, a guy who made a lot of mistakes. And I think I'm like a modern situation, and I think people are interested to see how I'm going to handle it. And I think that's what's most intriguing, is to see how someone can come back from so much bullshit, right?
How is this second title reign going to be different than the first one? What's gonna change for this one going forward?
Well, my effort. I think I'll make a conscious effort to just do better. I'm also a lot more aware of who I am and the responsibility that comes with being a champion, a UFC champion. And so I don't want to sit up here and make promises and say that I'm going to be a saint, because I'm a wild motherfucker at the end of the day. God bless you guys.
However, Jones would fail his fight week drug test and would be stripped of his 3rd UFC championship title. The fight would also be overturned and declared a no contest. December 2nd, 2017, UFC 218, Holloway vs. Aldo 2, Detroit, Michigan. Reyes makes his second appearance in the UFC, this time against 15-6 Jeremy Kimball. Reyes defeats Kimball by first round rear naked choke.
and you could shoot up the ladder fairly quickly. Is that kind of hit you yet? That you're the guy right now as first prospect?
I'm not really. I don't really think about it like that. I think of, I gotta take care of business each fight. I gotta take the right fights. At each point in my career, I'm still growing. I'm a young fighter still. I'm not asking for a title shot or anything like that. But I do want to take the right fights at the right time, and whoever they are for me next, it'll be the right fight. So we'll see.
I know you said that you responded to that question about the division. You're not really paying attention to that, but you ever step back and say this is a pretty good division to be a young guy who's undefeated and rising, because there really isn't a lot going on right now. It's probably one of the most shallow in the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started my career, I looked at all the divisions across the board, and I was like, well, I'm a light heavyweight, so if I'm gonna get in the UFC, before I even, started my amateur career, if I'm gonna get in the UFC, it'll be at light heavyweight, because there's not a lot of guys, the division's aging, and I would, with my skill set and my athleticism, I feel like I could rise quickly. And here I am, and it's going exactly according to plan, and I'll continue to move along at my pace, and we'll see how it goes.
Reyes would follow up that victory with yet another first-round finish, this time a knockout over Jared Cannonier at UFC Fight Night 129, Maia vs. Usman in Santiago, Chile. October 6, 2018, UFC 229, Khabib vs. McGregor, Las Vegas, Nevada. Reyes returns to the cage to face former title contender Ovince St. Preux on the main card of the blockbuster pay-per-view.
Do you feel like a win over OSP kind of gets you into that divisional mix as far as contendership goes?
I do. I do believe it puts me into that conversation. So we'll see. I go out there and do what I'm supposed to do, finish them, then everybody's going to be buzzing about it, and all of a sudden, Dominick Reyes is the next guy, so we'll see.
Also, the magnitude of the card, I guess, is very big, too. You get a big win here. It's on a McGregor card. A lot of people will probably be watching. Is that exciting?
Super exciting. I mean, you want to be on these cards. These are the cards that make legends. This is how you make your name, fighting on these big cards and performing. I'm not there to mess around, man. I walk in the cage, it's pure punishment, pure damage. Like, I want to do as much damage as possible, and just, it's destruction, devastation, man. It's just bad thoughts. It's just nothing good about it. Nothing good is going on in my head. It's just bad destruction, man. Like, all I can think about is just tearing apart everything, and that's just, it's the Devastator comes out. It's not Dominic, it's the Devastator that goes in there, and that's really what it is. It's my mentality when I go in there. I'm not playing around.
You graduated from Stony Brook with an information services degree. Information systems, and now you have a job in IT, is that correct?
Had a job.
Oh, no longer. Are you a full-time MMA fighter now?
I'm a retired IT professional.
I was going to ask you if maybe you could fix my laptop before the fight on Saturday.
I mean, if the price is right, I could do anything.
I guess is there a translation between IT to MMA at all, besides just being initials spelling it out?
No, I think troubleshooting. I mean, my mind is all about troubleshooting. I analyze things. I'm an analyst, really. It's constantly troubleshooting. There's a problem, fix it. There's always a way to fix something. And I bring that mentality into MMA. I think that's what makes me special, to be honest with you, is my intellect and my mentality.
It's interesting because you just said the Devastator comes out and it's just rage, but yet there's a cerebral aspect to it as well.
Yeah, well, it's rage. It's controlled rage. Everything's controlled, but it's still processing. I'm still processing every moment, every breath, every movement. I'm processing, and I'm looking for my opening. I'm like a cyborg finding, and boom, got it, and then I'm on him. That's kind of how I work.
Reyes wins a dominant decision and remains undefeated.
Overall, I felt it was a great performance by myself. I went out there, started quickly, almost got the finish, but I'm not gonna rush it, man. He's a very dangerous guy. He's very tough. I've seen him come back from that before, so I didn't want to rush into it and do something stupid. I settled in, and then in the third, I caught him and dropped him at 5 seconds left on the clock, but they called it a decision, so I'm happy either way. I performed just as I thought I would. I knew I would be faster, I knew I'd be sharper, I knew I'd be cleaner, and that's exactly how it went down today.
How do you think people are going to look at you after a performance like this? We're all talking about how, maybe you're a contender. Do you feel like generally everyone is going to look at you that way now?
Yeah, I mean, with that kind of performance, it's hard not to say that I'm an upcoming star in this division. I was fluid. I picked my shots. I was diverse with my attacks, and I was elusive. I mean, what more can you really ask for? I'm no longer a guy that there's a lot of questions about. You know what you're gonna get. I'm gonna come out and fight you, and I'm not gonna let you off the hook. And yeah, I'm the next guy, man. I feel I showed my diversity, you know, and my takedown defenses and my ability to grapple. You know, I showed that I don't just have a left hand, which, by the way, was a better left hand than Connor tonight. So I'll just put that out there. Anyway, yeah, I'm diverse. You know, I could analyze on the fly. I was picking my shots, being smooth and fluid, in and out. I look like a lightweight out there, and I'm fighting a light heavyweight. I think that's my gift.
December 29th, 2018, UFC 232, Jones versus Gustafsson 2. Inglewood, California. Originally set to take place in Las Vegas, Nevada, the UFC makes an unprecedented move, relocating the entire card to California, citing licensing issues with the Nevada Athletic Commission. The Vice President of Athlete Health and Performance, Jeff Nowitzki, said, "Can't make everyone happy, but it was the right thing to do." Jones is set to rematch Alexander Gustafsson for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship.
You know, I am in an interesting spot in the UFC. You know, I feel like I'm a polarizing athlete, and it's just gonna follow me. You know, it's gonna follow me. The way I deal with that is by waiting for USADA and now VADA to continue doing their research of what's going on in my body, and I think through their study I'll be vindicated. And just continue trying to stay on the right path, you know, trying to do the right things and just focus on the things I can't control.
Whatever this guy's saying, it's just bullshit. He's just terrible, man. This guy is terrible, I'm telling you. He's terrible. You know, I'm here to fight. It was nothing else. I was just here to fight. But the thing is, I'm just like, you know, I'm flexible. It's all good. But, you know, we have friends, family, fans coming into downtown having plans. They have their budgets, and they have to like reschedule. We're planning everything, whatever. I mean, whatever this guy is saying, you can't take it serious. You can't take it serious at all. He's just terrible. He is terrible, and he will eat it. He will eat it on Saturday night. I'm telling you, he will eat everything on Saturday night.
I'll ask you again. Do you believe Jon Jones is a cheater?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Man, this guy is not confident. He has to put shit in his body to be confident. That's how he is.
So Dana, I wanted to ask you, has there been any compensation that's going to be given to the fighters since they'll have an increased income tax?
Any conversation what?
Compensation for the increased income tax in California for the other fighters?
Who's going to pay my income tax in California?
And also the increased medical costs.
What?
And the increase for the medicals for California State.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's either that or not fight. Nobody gets paid and nobody does anything. It is what it is. We had to move it, and listen, it's costing everybody more money. It is what it is.
So me, I was no genius throughout schooling. So I'm learning all these things about pictograms and picograms. See there, exactly. I'm learning as we speak. I'm still learning what this stuff is. And the funniest thing is someone trying to convince me as an undefeated fighter that I'm not confident because of a pictogram. Say it again. Say it with a pictogram. I think this is so funny that the person who lost is making an excuse of a microscopic chemical that is, instead of just saying Jon Jones's balls is way bigger than mine, and that's why he beat me.
That's why I have positive piss test, huh?
This
Because
guy.
I have no balls.
This guy.
Who has the smallest balls here? You
This
and me.
guy is.
I'm the not have illegal shit in my body.
This guy.
I say I have balls. You don't have balls, my friend.
This guy has found.
You get illegal shit in your body.
This guy has found a way to justify why he lost. It's hilarious.
I heard you and Jeff Nowitzki say, and Andy Foster said it as well, that you are 100% sure that this isn't as a result of a new ingestion. This is the same metabolite that was in his system back in July of 2017. The question I don't seem to find the answer to is, how do you know that?
Because that's what the experts are saying. The experts are telling us that's what they do. How else would I know? The experts are telling
and
us.
I don't expect you to know, but who
Right,
are the
thank you.
Who are the experts?
Ask Nowitzki. Call Nowitzki and set up an appointment to have an interview with him. He'll tell you.
Ariel, I can help you with that.
You know, you probably can't, actually. You let Nowitzki answer that question for you.
I would love
Nowitzki's the expert on that. Jon Jones is calling it a pictogram, for Christ's sakes. Okay?
Unfortunately, he's not
I don't
here.
think he can answer that question. So talk to Nowitzki.
Okay. He's also said that there's 12 to 14 other cases of this happening.
Yeah, you got to talk to Nowitzki. If you want to talk drugs, talk to Nowitzki.
Okay. Can I just ask John what he wanted to say? John, what did you want to say?
I'm going to take the advice of my boss and have you talk to Jeff.
Yeah, let Nowitzki talk about that.
Okay.
I think through science, I think I will be vindicated. I've passed the polygraph test. With pretty much the FBI, which means if I was lying, I go to jail for perjury. I passed a polygraph test, saying that I've never intentionally taken anything illegal to enhance myself. And now that science is starting to show itself, you will realize that, I mean, half the people that are judging me haven't opened a chemistry book since high school. And so, I mean, it's true. It's so true. And so people are ignoring the fact that a picogram, people are ignoring the fact this shit is so small that it almost should have never been brought up. It's so small. It's such a small amount. It has no effect. And there is something in my system that is microscopic, that is so small that does not help me do shit. There we go. A soul. I like that. And there's no reason to come at USADA about this. What I am is a guinea pig for our sport. What I'm finding out is that this shit is happening all across sports. There's so many athletes right now that has the M3 metabolite in their body, and it's coming in pulses and it's coming in waves. But my situation is the most public. But the reason why I'm here today being able to fight is because it gives me no advantage. Science is getting so good that they're finding shit. I guarantee you there's many people in the audience that has shit that's on the ban list that's never done any type of steroid, that wouldn't even know what this shit is. So the fact of the matter is there is something in my bloodstream. It does not give me any advantage, and I'm grateful that USADA found it because I'll be able to educate myself and know more about it. And for fighters in the future, it's going to help out a lot of people. I think the science is just so strong. They're finding shit that you know, it's like, it's hard to explain. But I know for a fact that this is going to help fighters of the future and our sport. And no one said it should be easy being who I am. I accept the difficulty in it, and I'm up for the challenge. And like I said, through science, I feel like I'll be vindicated. So no worries. This is all going to be a blessing in disguise for me.
Jon Jones once again regains the UFC light heavyweight belt by defeating Gustafsson by TKO.
When it comes to Daniel Cormier, he's always quiet unless he's speaking out to discredit me, my legacy, my achievements. You know, every time he opens his mouth, and it works against him. I see the fans' reaction. They're just like, dude, leave Jon Jones alone for once. Dude, he beat you. You sound so bitter. He works his hardest to try to discredit and try to delegitimize the fact that I beat him twice. And the only thing I want to delegitimize as a retaliation is his claim of being a light heavyweight champion. He was never the light heavyweight champion. He never beat me. This has been my era since 2011.
I want to make that loud and clear. DC is no champ. When we talk about an asterisk next to my name, there's going to be always an asterisk next to the idea of him being a champ. The only way he can shut me up on what I'm saying right now is to beat my ass. Simple. Me going to heavyweight would be making it extremely personal. And for me, I have no problem with DC. I have a problem when he comes out and says, see, I told you guys he's a cheater. I told you he's a cheater. I have no real problem with DC. I'm not going to go to heavyweight and try to take everything from him and destroy his legacy and all that type of stuff. Is it possible that I could do that? It is possible. But I'm fine having mine and he can have his. DC needs to admit to the people that he was never the light heavyweight champion. Or face me at light heavyweight and shut me up.
March 2nd, 2019, UFC 235, Jones versus Smith, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Anthony Smith is a guy that many people feel like he kind of came out of nowhere. He was a middleweight, now he's a 205, he's won a bunch in a row. When did he first come onto your radar as someone that you thought you could possibly face one day?
Mainly like his last two fights was when I started noticing who he was. I never even knew who he was, a few months ago. But I do respect him. I respect him tremendously. I respect every fighter. Last time I looked past the fighter, I almost lost to Sonnen and Gustafsson, and I promised myself I'll never do that again. So yeah, we're up for the fight for sure.
Do you feel like he is using PEDs? Do you think he's a doper?
To be honest with you, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Number one, but I was fighting for years before USADA was a thing. I've been fighting people on steroids my whole career. So it just genuinely doesn't matter. And I think with it, without it, Jon Jones is one of the greatest talents we've ever seen in MMA. And I don't think that any of that other stuff matters. I don't think that stuff would change that. With it or without it, Jon Jones is going to be the world champion. And that's just how it is. And that's the guy I'm preparing for. So it's all just a big distraction. And that's why I tune it out and I don't talk about it. And I genuinely don't care, man.
Jones wins by unanimous decision.
Just really disappointed. I don't know, man. I don't know what happened. I did exactly what I told everyone I wasn't going to do. I let Jon Jones sit back and beat Jon Jones. I don't know, I guess sometimes you just go in there, it's not your night, I guess, but that's just not good enough for me. I don't know, I just couldn't pull the trigger. And when I did, I didn't combo up like I was supposed to, and I don't know, man, I didn't do anything I was supposed to do. Except for defend the takedowns, and I think I did a much better job of checking kicks than I have in the past, but my cardio held up, so all you fucking idiots can stop talking about it. That's really the only positive I can take from this, man. It's a whole fuck ton of negatives, that's for sure. I was in there, you know what I mean? And I don't feel like I got ran through, I just kind of got shut down. I don't feel like Jon Jones just went in there and beat the shit out of me. I just couldn't get going, and that's Jon Jones though, I guess, he I said I needed to force Jon Jones to fight me, and I didn't do that. He didn't fight me, he nullified me, and it's gonna haunt me for a long time, and I'm gonna have to get back to the drawing board and sit down with Mark and Scott and figure out what the fuck happened.
It was great, it was a lot of fun. I felt really familiar tonight at work, a little bit too familiar actually. Like in my warm-up, there was like no nervousness, and that was making me uncomfortable. The fact that there was no nervousness, I was almost questioning myself. Am I ready? Am I taking this seriously enough? And I know that I have done everything in my power to be prepared for this, but I think a little bit of nerves are actually a good thing. And tonight I just felt so doggone comfortable in there. But I feel like that's God's grace too. He blesses me to have a sound mind, and so I can't ask for it and then be confused when my mind is sound and at peace with what I'm doing. I feel like in the last round, yeah, I definitely could have done more. I'm not really proud of my fifth round, holding him against the cage like that. But at the same time, there's a beloved Randy Couture who
who made a whole career out of the way I fought in the last round, holding people against the cage and just chipping away at them. I totally fought Anthony. If you look at the stats will show that I totally fought Anthony. And I feel like it was his job to get off the cage. It was his job to make it a fight. He was the one losing. Anthony's very durable, and he's known to come back and win, even in the worst situations. You can beat the crap out of him for 3 rounds, and at the very end of the 3rd round, he can knock you out. He's known for that. So in a world championship fight, if he's going to allow me to hold him against the cage, I'm going to do that. At the end of the day, it's about impressing the fans and being entertaining. And I have a lot of pride in being that. But I feel like rounds 1 through 4 was what the fans wanted to see. And the 5th round was for me in my camp, just to take home that new belt.
March 16th, 2019, UFC on ESPN Plus 5. Till versus Masvidal, London, England. Reyes is set to face another former title contender, Volkan Ozdemir. Dominick Reyes wins a highly controversial split decision. Reyes remains undefeated. July 6, 2019, UFC 239, Jones versus Santos, Las Vegas, Nevada. Jon Bones Jones returns to Las Vegas to defend his title against the former middleweight and now surging light heavyweight, Thiago Santos.
I just want to start by thanking my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for bringing me this far, for bringing me back. And I pray that God's will is done, and I'm excited to just do my work and use my gift.
Jones wins a competitive, unanimous decision.
And were you surprised in maybe the reaction of the crowd? There was a lot of booing. Jon Jones himself said he didn't really care. Like he's not gonna allow. If anyone's not gonna allow a fight to change because of the audience, it's gonna be Jon Jones. You're surprised that the crowd didn't really seem to appreciate this, as Jon Jones described it, high level and violent chess match.
Not surprised one bit. I mean, I don't expect a lot from MMA crowds. A lot of times. I mean, this was a chess match. This was very technical. There was a lot of subtleties going on, and I don't think the average fan who's got a leader of Budweiser in the system is really going to appreciate some of those nuances.
And were you surprised with Thiago Santos? Like, obviously he stayed on his feet the whole time. I think that was what he was going to want to do. But he said he hurt his knee pretty badly in the first round. Basically fought the entire fight on one leg. Were you surprised that he could gut it out? And he survived 5 rounds with arguably the greatest fighter of all time without his biggest weapon.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Even if you want to take the idea that Jon Jones wasn't taking it as seriously or didn't turn up the overdrive, he did it on one leg. I mean, one leg against the greatest fighter we've ever seen. That says a lot. That says a lot. I mean, Thiago Santos, at the very least, I think, has earned a lot of respect from naysayers.
Yeah, he was extremely powerful. His kicks were powerful, his punches were powerful, and I wanted to play a smart game. It probably would have been a lot smarter to get him to the ground and test him there, but I feel like I was winning at what he was absolute best at. I feel like his team had him ultimately prepared. His cardio was great. His punches and kicks were great, and I felt like that was his best. That was his best, and I found a way to win on the feet at what he's absolute best at. And so in a rematch, if that were to happen, obviously I need to make some adjustments and make smarter choices. Look for maybe attack him where he's a little weaker. But I am proud because his kickboxing and his stand-up is what he's known for. I faced it head on, 25 minutes, and I found a way to come out on top. So, hey guys, God bless you. Get home safe. You're in Vegas, have a little fun. And I love you guys. Love the fans that are listening. I love you guys so much. Thank you for the support. It means everything. You are my motivation. And God is good. Jesus is number one.
October 18th, 2019, UFC on ESPN 6, Reyes versus Weidman, Boston, Massachusetts. Reyes is booked in his first main event opposite former middleweight champion Chris Weidman, as Weidman makes his 205-pound debut.
Dominick Reyes absolutely starched Chris Weidman. Ate him alive is what I would describe it. Entering this contest, obviously, of course, Chris Weidman, former middleweight champion, going up a weight class take on Dominick Reyes, the number 4 ranked light heavyweight in the world. What did you make of this performance? Is Chris Weidman's chin really gone? Is this just Dominick Reyes really being the elite striker? What did he call himself? Terminator. He's seeing like all these paths, these strikes, these arcs, this analyst, as he called himself. Is this a matter of Dominick Reyes being that good, or is Chris Weidman's chin really gone?
I would say more Dominick Reyes being that good. I don't want to take anything away from him because that performance is incredible, and he was super confident all week long. The fight went almost exactly the way he had predicted from minute one speaking to the media. It was a fantastic performance. He survived the takedown. He let Chris Weidman work itself out, and one of the questions you asked me during the pre-show is, will Weidman kind of have a Luke Rockhold performance? And it turns out he kind of did in a way. Looking for the takedown, he tired himself out, and then Reyes hit him with that clean shot, and the rest was history. So I give it more to Dominick Reyes and his team's game plan, and less about Weidman's chin. Obviously, Weidman's chin has gone a little bit, but more credit to Dominick Reyes.
It was my first main event, and I had fun. I had fun all week long. I had fun going out to the cage. I enjoyed myself the entire time. When I'm an old man, I could talk to my grandkids about that time in Boston. It was everything I could have ever imagined or dreamed of, and it all came to fruition better than any dream I've ever had about it. So I've had a lot of media on me. I've had a lot of eyes on me this week, and hopefully people are relating with my story and who I am, and they could see my skill set now and appreciate it. And I started moving up, get my title shot. My very first main event, and I won by knockout in the first round. I mean, it was everything, and I'm so blessed, man. I'm just grateful. I do feel I'm the clear-cut guy. The only thing in my mind would be, Jon maybe trying to go up to heavyweight. And if he wants to go up to heavyweight, then let's have an interim title, I don't know what Anthony Smith is doing, but I feel like that'd be a great fight for the interim belt. But honestly, I want to fight Jon. My whole career, I'm doing this to be the best in the world. I want to be the champion. I'm not here to just keep fighting guys. So I've beaten 2 title challengers, now a champion. Now there's another champion I want to beat. Like, natural progression. I'm number 4 in the world. The 2 guys ahead of me already got a shot, so I feel it's my turn.
February 8th, 2020. UFC 247, Jones versus Reyes, Houston, Texas. Jon Jones is set to defend his UFC light heavyweight title against the undefeated Dominick Reyes at the Toyota Center.
When you were a world champion, he wasn't even fighting professionally yet, so I'm curious if it's difficult to get excited for it's not like a marquee name or somebody that you've seen for years.
No, it's not difficult to get excited. Dominick starting off this whole thing with talking about party favorites and bringing up my past and stuff like that. It was exactly what I wanted and what I needed. Somebody who's tall. People think I do bad against tall people, so I'm excited for this challenge. He's undefeated. This guy tickles my pickle. And I cannot wait.
Pause.
I cannot wait to put my hands on him. He's an elite level athlete. I believe I am as well. He has a lot of power and his left hand. But to call him different than anybody I've faced before, I don't know if I can do that at all. I've faced so many people with way more advanced striking. I've faced so many people with extreme knockout power. And I just gotta go out there, respect him, believe, and just do what I do. I don't really care. At the end of the day, my job is to destroy this dude and start focusing on 2020, you know what I mean? I'm gonna have a great 2020, and it's gonna start off by destroying Dominick. I don't know. This guy. Hell of a drug, huh? Stupid. That's gonna follow me for a long time, huh? But
Yeah, man. I don't know what I want to do to him, man. I don't know if I want to knock him out, choke him out, but dude, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. I promise you guys. I do feel like Dominick has everything to win in this situation. You know, he's relatively unknown, but that's why I'm training as hard as I can. You know, I was 240 last week. I'm 230 this week. I'm taking him extremely seriously. I watch his fights every single day. Because he's unknown, you know, people would expect someone in my position to take him lightly, and that's where guys in my position would fall. You know, I'm reading a book called Relentless right now, and it talks about being a cleaner, and I'm trying to be a cleaner, dude. I wanna dominate for years and years to come, and so I got to take him very seriously.
I read that book like 3 years ago, so
it's a good book.
It's a good book.
It's a great book. I'm glad you did. I'm reading it right now on this.
It might have helped me get here, to be honest.
You know, I'm reading it right now in this training camp leading into beating your ass.
Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen, Johnny boy. Not gonna happen.
Great response, Dominick.
I don't know. Is there a spy in my camp, John?
You're not that important, Dominick.
All right, John. We'll see what happens, though, man. We'll see how important I am when you're on your back, though. We'll see how important I really am.
I'm taking you serious, bud. I'm taking you serious. Just know that. I'm taking you serious. But you're a pawn in this game, bro. I've been talking about it for a long time. Like DC, like all of them, bro. You're a pawn in this game.
Say I'm a pawn?
You're a pawn in this game, bro.
How so?
You're just a piece in this puzzle, bro.
Piece in the puzzle?
I'm trying to be great, bro, and you're just a part of it. You're a small part of it.
As am I, and you're just another pawn in my puzzle.
That's fine. Everyone's undefeated before they fight me, bro.
No, they're not. They're not, though. They're really not, though.
Trust me.
You fought one undefeated guy.
Trust me, bro.
But that doesn't matter.
Daniel Cormier,
what does that have to do with...
Daniel Cormier was undefeated.
What does Daniel Cormier have to do with me?
Ryan Bader was undefeated.
What does Ryan Bader have to do with me?
You're not special, Dominick.
Oh, I'm the one. I promise you.
You're the one.
You will see.
You knocked out Chris Weidman. He's been knocked out so many times.
You knocked...
Good job.
When was the last time you knocked anyone out, ever?
I don't have to knock out people. I don't have to knock out people. I have a gigantic skill set.
So you say I don't have to knock out people, but then you try to knock me knocking out people?
The only way, we all know
John.
The only way you can possibly win this fight is to catch me with the left. We all know that. I could submit you, I could out wrestle you, I can kickbox you to death. Bro, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you, Dominick.
All right, we'll see.
You know it.
We'll
You're
see,
a one-trick
Johnny.
pony.
I don't know it, actually.
You're a one-trick pony.
You think you know it.
Bro, we saw your highlight
I don't.
reel. It was straight left. Straight left. Straight left.
Hey,
left uppercut.
home runs work, baby.
Yeah, they do. They do. At a certain level, they do.
Yeah, this level.
Good response, Dominick.